The only people that care about Samsung throttling their devices artificially are people that don't own Samsung devices. Because Samsung has grown to the size of essentially being the default Android option in North America and even in a lot of Western European countries, Samsung has an obligation to deliver consistent performance in not only speed, but battery life, battery health, battery longevity, and warm weather performance with high stress apps, and just overall reliability of their devices. It's not to say that Samsung throttling their devices doesn't matter, but to the average Samsung consumer, it doesn't matter. Now, my name is Mitchell. I'm fluent in tech, so you don't need to be. And I want to explain to you guys the situation that Samsung is currently facing in regards to throttling, this debacle that they're facing in regards to Geekbench, and whether or not it matters to you. If you've been living under a rock and you're not aware, let me catch you up. Samsung has been found to be artificially throttling the performance of devices going all the way back to the Samsung Galaxy S10, depending upon the application. And this is something that I felt like I knew about, but I also felt like Samsung was just kind of forthcoming and honest about. See, when I had my S20 FE, I had an option within settings to turn on enhanced processing. And what enhanced processing did was just up the clock speed of the device and essentially allow the device to run faster. Now, I know die-hard performance enthusiasts might be thinking, this is terrible. You should be getting the most performance out of your device that you can, no matter what. And I think that for some people, it's true. You definitely should. But in 2022, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, last generation with the Snapdragon 888, and even comparing that to the Snapdragon 865, the differences in performance between these SoCs are becoming so minuscule, and the difference in these devices are becoming so imperceivable, especially to the average consumer, especially with high refresh rate displays, and especially with real-world multitasking, that manufacturers are having to choose speed and thermal efficiency along with the things that come with that thermal efficiency, or just outright performance. I want to interrupt this video really quick to thank the sponsor of today's video, TechFluent. TechFluent makes an awesome laptop accessory which gives you a place to put your external hard drive or other computer peripherals. If you're someone that uses a laptop, go ahead and check them out in the description down below. Snapdragon 888 had a ton of issues with overheating and thermal throttling. This led manufacturers to turn those clock speeds down in order to go ahead and maintain heat better. In fact, we see this trend continuing with Samsung right now. Brands like Xiaomi that are giving you 100% of that performance for small tasks, they're spiking the temperature of the SoC, and then they're having to throttle that SoC down in order to maintain performance and not cook the device. Samsung, on the other hand, is artificially limiting the speed of its SoCs in regards to clock speed, and then they're allowing those devices to maintain higher clock speeds for prolonged uses. Now, as someone that loves tech, I have to say that both of these approaches to thermal management come with their upsides and their downsides. But for the average consumer buying a Samsung device, I think that they just want to have a flagship experience. And with modern performance in what we have with Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, Snapdragon 888, and even Snapdragon 865, spiking clock speeds and spiking the SoC temperature to just later dial it back down and throttle it over the long run, It kind of seems like an inefficient approach, especially when spiking these clock speeds and overall boosting performance for short tasks means that you're gonna have higher battery drain, higher internal temperatures, and those internal temperatures are gonna lead to overall battery degradation in the long term. Now, this issue of artificially limiting devices' clock speeds isn't only Samsung. OnePlus was found guilty of it with their last generation OnePlus 9 Pro, and they were found to be limiting the clock speeds and throttling their SoC. And I think that as we move into the future, we're gonna have more companies giving us the option to turn on or turn off SoC throttling. And I think that's really where fanboys or consumers want to have that kind of granular settings. I never turned on enhanced processing in my entire time with my S20 FE because for me, 8.5 to 9 hours of screen on time just was a better overall user experience. And I think that brands such as Google and the Google Pixel are actually going to end up having the advantageous kind of position. Why? Because Google is never claiming to give you the fastest or the most flagship phone. They're just trying to give you the best performing phone that's going to last you a long time. A phone that can compete with flagships in many areas, because I don't really know if a quarter of a second opening Instagram is going to change whether or not I think my device is flagship or not. But that comes from you. Do you think that opening Snapchat or Instagram a quarter of a second faster changes whether or not your device is a flagship or not? Until next time, it's been Mitchell. Peace.